Well, that's announcing your presence with authority off the top of the show there. Welcome to the 2025 NHL Draft Recap. This is the check-in draft edition, minus Sarah Lesky, who is not with us, but Mitchell Clinton is joining us from his cottage by marriage.
I'm hoping it's not looked at as just a massive downgrade from Sarah. But at the very least, I'll do my best to try to fill the shoes.
See, I was wondering when that question was going to come up, and there it is, right off the top of the show. Cameron Penny.
From who else would you expect it from, though?
Wow. The content crew has done a lot of work today, so we have to give them a lot of credit. But anyways, Mitchell Clinton joining us. The 2nd through 7th rounds went faster than the first round. So I think we can go with that. The decentralized format, this is the third time we've seen it. There was 2020, 2021, and now 2025. And no, Eric, no matching golf shirts. Mitch is in the mail. But thank you for noticing today. I think a lot of people could probably say that decentralized doesn't work. Now, obviously with 2020 and 2021, it's because of the pandemic known as COVID-19, but the other 26 of 32 NHL teams decided to decentralize this one in Los Angeles in the Peacock Theater. I mean, they had a lot of good ideas. There was, I get the idea, but man, that first round dragged. There's no question about that. The multiple interviews probably not the best idea, but listen. The cool part of it is the Winnipeg Jets had a first-round pick this year. Mitch and I will go over the 5 picks the Jets had. We'll also welcome one of the newest Jets, Sasha Boumedienne, coming up in about 8 minutes or so. I believe he's on Manhattan Beach. Not a terrible place to be after getting drafted, if you ask me. He will be here on Monday when development camp kicks off for the Winnipeg Jets. But overall, Mitch, just the format, and we're not going to dig into it too much, but just how this draft went, and then we'll get into the picks themselves.
Yeah. I'm always somebody that, I would say my wife would accuse me of being hesitant to change. So
yeah. We fear change.
You know what, though? I can appreciate the National Hockey League kind of listening to their member clubs, and some of them, wanting to try out something decentralized. They had a vote. Okay, sure. And, there's other leagues that absolutely, make it happen, and they've got some experience doing it. And the NHL, trying to think of what's going to look best for the show, what's going to allow things to run. And what, ultimately, in my opinion, would I prefer the centralized format? Yes. I think it was Steve Yzerman yesterday or this morning kind of had some comments about the fact that he actually prefers the decentralized way. But I think both Mark Hillier today and Kevin Cheveldayoff yesterday said that Winnipeg would likely, vote in favor of having a centralized draft versus a decentralized. And part of it, I think, for me, is the atmosphere, because, as much as they really dressed up that Peacock Theater and there was a lot going on in there show wise, I can't imagine it's quite the same level of buzz, because you even look at, some of the trades that happened today, maybe you would see some phone calls happening, or you would see a couple of those GMs that were involved walking around talking to each other. And, maybe that adds a little bit more, and other teams are looking over their shoulders, wondering what's going on. You know what I mean? So I just think there's that element to it. And then there's the fact that you have far more, I would say, players / prospects in the building, the families. I mean, we all remember Dominic DiVincentis, how big of an ovation that was, and how huge that was for him, right? That immediately brings a smile to your face because you think about that, right? So I just think that's a little bit more of the way that I would prefer to see it done. I actually, applaud the NHL for trying something different when that's what some of their member clubs wanted. But at the same time, I think they have a really good thing going with the centralized draft. And I think possibly some of those teams that voted for decentralized might have a little bit of a change of heart. We'll see.
Yeah, I think, the NFL has pulled it off. And then I even look at the NBA, who doesn't have they have a centralized draft. They had their 2 rounds done in like 2 hours. So it was fascinating how quickly they got things done. But to the Jets draft itself, 5 picks were made. And then I had just mentioned their first round pick, Sascha Boumedienne, played at Boston University last year. They got him at 28th overall. So, multiple teams over the years will say they're excited about the guy that dropped to them. But Boumedienne, I saw on most lists, maybe just under 2021. So for Winnipeg to get a guy that's one of the best skaters in the draft, a left shot defenseman, went to the NCAA final last year with Boston University with the Terriers, playing the Beanpot, had a lot of experience, had an outstanding U18. So what's to be excited about with Sascha Boumedienne?
A lot of it to do with skating, and that's really a theme that I think we saw from the Winnipeg Jets throughout this entire draft. That was something Mark Hillier kind of touched on about an hour ago when he met the media over Zoom. Was a lot of these guys, all these guys can skate well, and that's just the way it is. He kind of looks at Boumedienne as almost like one of those new age defensemen that can skate, create a little bit of a gap, get back for pucks, and move it quickly. How many times do you hear Winnipeg Jets defense or Manitoba Moose defensemen talk about, hey, like my job is, go back, get that puck, make that first pass, get it in the hands of the forwards so we can get going north. And, that's something that Boumedienne does really well. And I think the other part too is it was an interesting scenario for him this year, being as young as he was, playing in the NCAA. And, as much as it's a challenge and he was able to fit in, and I think as the season went on, got stronger and stronger, more comfortable, his ice time kind of went up. It was also, I think, important for him and for teams that were doing scouting, not even necessarily just the Winnipeg Jets, to see him go back to the U18s and have the tournament that he did, right? You're back up against your peers, and you, as a scouting staff, have a little bit of a better idea. The usage is a little bit more closer to what it might be when he gets to the pro ranks and, kind of fills out his frame a little bit more. And all he did was, go out there and dominate, lead, everybody in the tournament, assist with 13, 14 points. That's the most amongst defensemen. So it was a really intriguing year, I think, for him. And then for him to be able to, go back to Boston University next year and, be just 1 year older and have that year that he had under his belt and the pressure of the draft year, maybe not necessarily there anymore. I look forward to big things from him.
Yeah, you had mentioned about the youth. There's 3 17-year-olds who played in the NCAA last year. Boumedienne was one of them, and he is the youngest player. So for him to have 13 points in 39 games last year and to get the experience that he did, I think speaks to how good of a player he projects to be. Like, there's a long way to go here, but for the way that he adapted to the NCAA college, played well again, as you said, the U18s, I think this is phenomenal. And also something to be excited about is Alphonse Frey, who was drafted the second round last year by the Jets. And of course, Boumedienne will be on Sweden's World Junior Summer Showcase roster. They've already announced it. So both players will be in front and center in that one. Of course, that will be a little bit later in the summer, coming up in late July. So something to look forward to in that aspect. So Sascha Boumedienne will be joining us here momentarily from Manhattan Beach, of course, having a great time with his family. Moving on to the third round pick. Justin, I have a second round pick. You move on to Owen Martin. I'm thinking of the actor, Owen Martin, who played for the Spokane Chiefs. This kid, of course, a centerman, went all the way to the Western Hockey League final, faced the Minnesota Tigers. There is some familiarity, of course. Brad Lauer, a former coach, assistant coach with the Winnipeg Jets, coached Spokane. Lots to like about Owen Martin. And on top of that, a local kid with local flavor. Mitch.
Yes, local team drafts local man. My favorite headline.
You've been dying to write this headline, and now it's real. It is real.
Yeah, obviously joins that trio of Jason Kasdorf in 2011 and Jordy Stallard in 2016 as the Manitoba products. And it's just a really good story, right? Played his minor hockey in that kind of Oak Bank area, then went to the Eastman Selects, and then goes to the Rink Hockey Academy and ends up in Spokane. And it was an interesting year for him too, obviously with the injury, and the thing that you hate in your draft year is to miss a big chunk of games, but it almost showed, his ability to bounce back. And I was reading a story about him that was put out during the Western Hockey League playoffs. And he talked about, you block that shot, you suffer the tendon injury, you miss a couple of months, and when you come back, and that's the first thing you got to do is block a shot. You got to get that kind of out of your head. I thought a lot of Dylan Sandberg when I was reading that story. He had, when he was asked about, having to come back and block a shot, he just kind of said, well, it's the job, right? So the other thing that really popped to me in some of the scouting reports about Owen Martin is how many times I saw the phrase middle of the ice and guts of the ice. And he takes a lot of pride in his ability to have that two-way game, defend at one end of the ice, and then also, at the other end, be as dynamic as we saw in some of those highlights, right? So, it's obviously going to be a little bit of a progression for him. They want to see those offensive numbers pop next year, again with Spokane. But I don't think we can underestimate the value of having someone like Brad Lauer there in Spokane, someone that, you know, has an idea of how the Winnipeg Jets kind of play, how they want to play. Obviously, there's a relationship with Jets head coach Scott Arniel as well. So, you know, there would be, I would imagine, an open line of communication between the two, not even just between those two head coaches, but also obviously with Martin and the player development staff. I'm going to be intrigued to see him at development camp just to see if there's a crowd that follows him around, because why wouldn't there be?
So a good sign for any prospect and somebody who wants to have a great pro career is being on time. And on time is one of the most important things, period. And Sascha Boumedienne has shown up on time from Manhattan Beach, I believe, wearing his Winnipeg Jets hat. Sasha, you've already been welcome to Winnipeg. Just talk about how your day is going so far, and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. No, it's going great. Yeah, kind of settled in a little bit here after the hectic day yesterday, and yeah, just spending time with family here. So we're, yeah, like you said, we're on Manhattan Beach here. So yeah, just hanging out and try and enjoy it.
Who's with you? Like, how many family members are with you? How many friends are with you to take this in and all with you?
So I got my family, my cousin's family, yeah, my uncle's family, and then I got two families that are family friends. So we're just over 20 people here.
Excellent. And Sasha, one of the questions that I had for you, I go into the mind of maybe a player like yourself. You go into your draft year, and, you know, maybe you're not thinking about the pressure of the draft, but there's always the question of, you know, who might take me? Where might I go? What's this team like? And then you have the night like last night where you end up getting picked, and now there's, I don't want to say there's certainty because there's still work to go, but all of a sudden it's like, okay, it's Winnipeg. I know you finally have some finality to a bit of a draft year. What did that kind of feel like, and kind of have all that pressure, if you will, off your shoulders, and now you know kind of where you're going and what maybe your next week is going to look like?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the year felt a little different right off the hop. I mean, obviously it's your draft year, and it's probably the biggest year, yeah, of everyone's career, going into your draft year. So I mean, yeah, it definitely felt different. So yeah, just showing up to the draft. I mean, it's something that everyone's looked forward to for a really long time, and yeah, just hearing my name get called is pretty special. So yeah, I'm kind of happy it's over with now, and I know it's Winnipeg, and I'm happy about it. So yeah, we're all really happy. So it's yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad. I'm glad they wanted me.
Considering how, you know, you were the youngest player in the NCAA this year, and as your game got better as the year went along in the NCAA, and then you had a great U18, have you even had the time to digest how solid of a season you had on the ice this year?
Well, thank you. Thanks for the kind words. But I don't I don't know. Yeah, I guess I have. I reflected a lot on my year, and I was happy about my rapid development and the way I developed and got better. Uh, Huge thanks to obviously my coaches at BU. We had a great plan for me in place, and we kind of just stuck with it, and ended up being really good. So yeah, happy with my end of the year, and the way I finished off in playoffs and all that. So very happy about my development, and yeah, I guess yeah, I've been able to think about it, and yeah, I wouldn't change a thing. I'm really happy about how I ended the year.
Yeah, you mentioned Boston University. I'm just curious, you know, being in the position that you were last year, going in as young as you were into the NCAA, what was maybe the biggest lesson that you learned? Was it on ice? Was it off ice? You know, what was the biggest lesson that you learned that really helped propel you forward?
Yeah, a bunch of things. I mean, obviously being around older guys, I'm around 23, 24-year olds, and they're all a lot more mature than if you play in juniors around 17, 18-year olds. So I learned a lot from them, and yeah, like that's obviously on the ice and off the ice. I learned a lot from them, and how to take care of yourself, and how to be more of a pro, even though you still play college hockey. They're obviously older, more mature. So yeah, just being able to lean off my teammates, and yeah, see what they do on an everyday basis. We obviously had a really good team there at BU, so, and we will have a good team this year as well. So yeah, I'm fortunate that I got to step into a really good team and yeah, be part of that group. So I learned a lot from all my teammates on and off the ice.
Sasha, you're also fortunate to have a dad that played pro hockey for over 15 years, including a stint in the National Hockey League. What was the best way your dad has guided you through this whole process? What was the number one way that he was so good at this?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like you said, he's been there every step of the way. He's been in my shoes right now. He's gone through what I'm going through right now and will be going through in the future. He's played in pretty much every league, so I yeah, I lean off of him a lot. Use him as a resource. Obviously, I'm fortunate to have him as my dad, and yeah, yeah, whenever I need something, he's always right by my side. So it's uh yeah, I can't really pinpoint something
Yeah.
that has helped me in particular, but just everything. I mean, he's by my side the whole way. So whatever I need, he's there to help. So yeah, I'm very fortunate to have him.
The last one for me, Sasha. Just what does the next couple days look like? I would imagine, you've probably been talking with the Jets, whether that's Jimmy Roy and player development or otherwise, about what it looks like to get you to Winnipeg for development camp. What does the next couple days look like for you?
Yeah, so I'll got the flight booked for tomorrow morning. I'll fly to Winnipeg tomorrow, and then I think camp starts Monday. So yeah, just excited to get there, and then uh, yeah, I'm not 100% sure how long camp is, but yeah, starts Monday, so I'm excited.
And last one for me, I think what people really want to know is what are your plans for the rest of the day on a beautiful Manhattan beach with the family and friends?
Yeah, I don't know. We just got done eating lunch here. Might go back to the hotel. Some of my family friends wanted to play some golf and just enjoy the weather and maybe go to the beach. So we'll see. I don't we really our family just goes with the flow. We don't really have a plan. So yeah, we'll just enjoy this weather and enjoy the time together.
Sasha, appreciate the time. Congratulations again. We look forward to see you on Monday.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you having me on.
Sasha Boumedienne joining us from Manhattan Beach. Listen, that was awesome. Like rated 5'10". Boom, there he was. So
That is perfect, because that's the thing, right? Like being on time. I mean, being around NHLers and professional hockey players, man, you want to talk about a team, not necessarily that's routine, but it's part of the, if the bus time is this, that bus is rolling. So
yeah,
good on Sasha. That's, always made a good first impression with the Winnipeg Jets management. That's the important thing. But I mean, with us, a first impression is also important, right?
no, it's very, very important, and like maybe as important as Jimmy Roy and Mike Keane. But I think with Keener's like huge on details.
Yes.
I had my shoes untied last year at the rookie camp, and he like lit into me. So as a 53-year-old man, so that's right, exactly. So all right, well, we'll pick up where we left off in the Jets third round pick and the local kid from Oakbank. Just how this is such a big moment for him. And I guess one of the main questions I was asked to him is what he's going to show everybody when development camp starts. But it's such a huge moment for Owen Martin.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, you don't want to put pressure on him at all, because this is a big moment for him, and he'll be enjoying his first, development camp and whatnot. But of course, you're from the area. Everybody wants to see you do well. They don't want to put pressure on you, but they love to see you put on that Jets jersey. You know what I mean? So I'm sure he'll be kind of battling that, going back and forth. But I think at the same time, you love having that opportunity. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that's standing out to him right now, is the chance to, get himself into position to continue to get better every day and possibly have that chance at the National Hockey League at kind of the big goal for him. So we'll see how it goes, see how he develops. But like we talked about, he was, with the injury that he had this year and the ability to come back and get himself into, game shape once again, and then really be a contributor for Spokane into the postseason, speaks a lot to the character of the individual, the talent of the individual, especially to step up in the big moments.
So Winnipeg did not have a fourth round pick, but they did have one in the fifth, 156 overall. Another Swedish player, Victor Klingsell, a right winger, great release, stocky. Jason Bakula said he has the it factor. Of course, Mark Hillier was elated that he was available in the fifth round where the Jets had the pick. So another kid, another Swedish forward. What are we looking for when with this young kid once things get underway and we get a good look at him.
Yeah, I'm going to be, curious to see the skill. That's kind of what came up in the scouting reports for him. I mean, not overly big, 5'10", 187, I believe is what he's listed at. But, Mark Hillier kind of commented on that and just kind of said that, this is a kid that has kind of learned to play at that size, but he'll be fine. He'll start to fill it out a little bit as well. Left shot guy, 39 points with Skellefteå and whatnot. So I think, it'll be interesting to see him get on the ice. And you don't want to evaluate things too much in July, especially for guys that are getting here for the first time and they're kind of going through the whirlwind that they are. But, the Jets social account put out a real nice highlight of him and that great release from the slot against the Americans. And you see that and you just kind of go, oh, okay, there's some skill there. We've seen you don't want to make direct comparisons, but, you see a lot of the players in the league that have that patented kind of release that, you just need a split second to get it off. And obviously at the National Hockey League level, especially in some of those hard to get to areas in the middle of the ice, you only have a split second. And if you're able to release the puck like that and change the angle and, find open spots against some of the best goaltenders in the world, it's only going to serve you well. So he's going to be somebody that I keep an eye on just because of that quote unquote it factor and the ability to find the back of the net.
Some of the scouting reports I've read were about how good of a playmaker he was, and maybe he didn't shoot enough. But from the highlights that I saw at the draft today, a lot of it was him shooting the puck, and clearly the Wizardry, known as our content department and social department, doing the great job that they do. My gosh, they're just so important to what we do, especially Ludwig, who did a great job with these graphics.
Is he standing just outside of the shot, or?
Yeah, no, listen, our producers in the background, Adam's got us and there's Cameron Penny rolling in that you guys can't see. This is all stuff in the background, behind the scenes, BTS, as they tell people, letting us know, and we're telling them how much we appreciate all the hard work that they do. So another player that will likely be at development camp when we get underway. Jets also had a pick in the 6th round. Let's throw up. It is Edison Angel. Played for Dubuque and the Fighting Saints. Another defenseman, the left shot defenseman at pick 188. Lots to like about this youngster.
He's got a kind of an interesting path over the next couple of years, right? You mentioned, that he played in the USHL last year for a couple of teams, going to Brantford of the Ontario Hockey League for next season. And he's already committed to Ohio State for 26-27. So a little bit of an interesting kind of path that he's going to be on over the next couple of years. But, obviously you kind of see how those develop. But yeah, 6'2", 174. He's got some size. And the other thing that jumps out in those scouting reports we talked about is the phrase that I saw was powerful skater. And we talked about how important skating is with Boumedienne, right? So you translate that into another defenseman as well. Maybe the offensive numbers aren't as high with Edison Angel. That's going to be something that maybe he wants to try to improve on as things go. But I mean, you add someone like that with that skating ability under your back end, it's never a bad thing. And you try to see if you can kind of teach some of the other parts of the game. But, obviously there's a lot to like there for someone that has the path ahead of him that he already does, whether that's the Ontario Hockey League or the NCAA coming up in a couple of years' time.
And last but not least, in the 7th round, Jacob Cluche from Saginaw of the Ontario Hockey League rounds out the Jets draft. Of course, this kid returns to Ottawa in the offseason. He skates with some elite players, one known as Mason McTavish, who's had a pretty good career so far with the Anaheim Ducks. So Jacob Cluche, a skilled forward, rounding out the 5 picks for the Winnipeg Jets in the 2025 NHL Draft.
Yeah, and that's going to be interesting. It just kind of shows how bad my timelines are sometimes. You know, I heard Saginaw and I'm like, oh, maybe he played with Cole Perfetti. I looked at him it wasn't even close, Mitch.
I looked at maybe he went Memorial for a long time. I'm like, no, he did not. No, he did not.
It's just like, it was one of those things where you search it up and you kind of shake your head and go, wow, the time has really gone by quickly.
What was it like to play with Cole Perfetti? Never mind.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, 23 goals for him, 47 points last year in 67 games as a 5'10" right winger. That right shot is never a bad thing, especially up front, because it's as much as you can have players play on their offside, and sometimes, and I remember talking to players like Mark Scheifele about this, or just ask any center. Some kind of opportunities open up. There's certain things you can run off of, whether it's rush plays or coming out of corners, if you have wingers on their appropriate handed sides. So there are, players that can certainly, play their off wing, but to have that right shot coming down that right side, or having it as the one-timer option, if that's something that you're looking for as well, that's never a bad thing either. So a lot of, and this was kind of a theme throughout of them. This is another guy that can skate, another guy with some skill, right? And, are those two foundational things you'd like to see with your draft picks? Absolutely. But, it's important when those are kind of the first couple of things that are mentioned about a player, as opposed to, it's kind of like what Kevin Cheveldayoff said ahead of the draft. He doesn't like to hear, yeah, he skates well for his size. No, I just want to hear that he skates well, right? Yeah. And that's the biggest thing that I think really translates from all of these 5 picks.
Well, I'm a man of my word. I said I would take you, keep you for 25 minutes. It's 5:25. I know you start invoicing. Oh, 5:26 we went over. So now you did that on purpose. You went a little bit longer so you could charge a little bit more. But Mitch, appreciate your time. Thanks so much for doing this. Next up, it is development camp, which begins on Monday. First media availability is Monday, but first on-ice session will be on Tuesday. So on behalf of Mitchell Clinton, Sascha Boumedienne, I'm Jamie Thomas. Thanks so much for watching this check-in edition of the Draft Recap. Great week.